What if I told you that the private messages you sent last week, the ones you thought no one could see, could now be used against you in your immigration case? What if the photo you posted on social media 3 years ago, just joking around with friends, is now being reviewed by a USCIS officer deciding whether you get a green card, a visa, or even get to stay in the United States? And what if I told you that your own social media accounts, even the ones you set to private, are not as private as you think? And USCIS is watching? This is not science fiction. This is not a warning for someone else. This is real. This is happening right now. And if you are applying for any type of immigration benefit in the United States, whether it's a green card, a visa, asylum, citizenship, or even just extending your stay, then you need to listen very, very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you could change the outcome of your entire case. This is Immigration News Today. I'm James, your trusted immigration expert. And today, we are diving deep into an issue that is becoming one of the most dangerous, misunderstood, and overlooked threats in the U.S. immigration system. How USCIS, CBP, ICE, and even consular officers are using your social media activity, even from private accounts, to approve or deny your immigration benefits. And the scariest part? Most people have no idea this is happening. They post freely. They think their accounts are locked down. They assume privacy settings will protect them. But the truth is, your social media presence, public or private, can make or break your immigration future. Let's start with the cold, hard facts. Over the past several years, the U.S. government has dramatically expanded its use of social media screening as part of the immigration vetting process. USCIS, Customs and Border Protection, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the Department of State all now routinely review social media profiles as part of background checks for nearly every type of immigration application, from tourist visas to green cards to citizenship. And in 2024, those efforts have only intensified. According to official government memos and USCIS policy updates, officers are now combing through platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and even gaming or messaging apps, looking for inconsistencies, red flags, or evidence that could lead to a denial, delay, or even a fraud investigation. Now, you might be thinking, but my account is private, only my friends can see my posts. But here's the problem. Private does not mean invisible. USCIS and its partner agencies do not just rely on what you post publicly. They also use advanced search techniques, third-party data aggregators, mutual connections, tagged photos, geotags, comments, likes, and even deleted content that may still exist in digital archives or cached pages. They can see what your friends post about you. They can see where you've traveled based on location tags. They can see what you've liked or shared, even if it was years ago. And they are trained to look for anything that contradicts the story you're telling in your immigration application. Let me give you a real-world example. A client of mine, we'll call him David, applied for a green card through his employer. He had a strong job offer, solid income, and a clean background. But during his interview, the USCIS officer asked him about a series of posts he had made on Instagram 2 years earlier. Posts that included political slogans and protests that the officer claimed were associated with unlawful activities. David had forgotten about those posts. His account was private. He thought they were harmless. But because those images existed, and because the officer interpreted them as potentially conflicting with his application, his case was delayed for months, and he was eventually called in for additional questioning. Luckily, we were able to provide context and documentation, but not everyone is that lucky. Not everyone gets a second chance. And it's not just about protests or politics. USCIS is also looking for inconsistencies in your personal life. If your marriage-based green card application says you've been living together for 3 years, but your social media shows you posting solo travel photos from different countries during that entire time, that raises a red flag. If you claim to be unemployed on your application, but your LinkedIn profile shows recent job titles and promotions, that's a problem. If your visa application says you've never been arrested, but a public court record or news article, or even a friend's post, mentions a charge, that could trigger an RFE, a denial, or even a fraud investigation. And once that happens, your credibility is on the line. And once your credibility is damaged, it is incredibly difficult to recover. Now, let's break this down into the key areas where social media is impacting immigrants right now, and what you need to know to protect yourself. Social media is now a standard part of almost every immigration background check. When you apply for a green card, a visa, asylum, or citizenship, you are required to submit to a thorough background investigation. That includes fingerprinting, name checks, database reviews, and, yes, social media screening. USCIS officers are trained to look at your online presence as part of their evaluation of your credibility, your intentions, and your eligibility. They are not just looking for criminal activity. They are looking for anything that doesn't add up, anything that seems suspicious, anything that could indicate fraud, misrepresentation, or a hidden agenda. And they are allowed to use publicly available information, and even information that's technically private but still accessible through other means. Even your friends' posts about you can be used against you. You might think you're being careful, but if your friend tags you in a photo at a protest, or captions a post with something politically charged, or mentions your immigration status in a comment thread, that content can be used as evidence. USCIS officers are trained to look beyond your own profile. They will review tagged photos, comments, group memberships, and even private messages if they are somehow obtained through legal channels. And if they find something that contradicts your application, or raises questions about your character, intentions, or background, they can and will use it. Inconsistencies between your application and your social media can lead to an RFE, an interview, or a denial. An RFE, or request for evidence, is one of the most common roadblocks in the immigration process. It means USCIS is asking for more information because something doesn't add up. And one of the fastest ways to trigger an RFE is to have a discrepancy between what you say in your application and what your social media profiles show. For example, if you say you've been living in one city for the past year, but your Instagram shows you traveling internationally or living in another state, that's a problem. If you claim to be single on a fiancé visa application, but your Facebook profile says you're in a relationship or married, that's a huge red flag. And if you fail to disclose previous arrests, travel history, or employment, but it's visible online, you could be accused of misrepresentation, which is a ground for denial or even deportation. Your online activity can affect not just your current application, but your future in the United States. Even if you're not applying for anything right now, your social media activity can still be stored, archived, and accessed later, especially if you apply for citizenship, a green card, or any immigration benefit in the future. Officers can go back years, reviewing old posts, old photos, old comments, and old accounts. And if they find something that raises concerns, even from years ago, they can use it to question your credibility, your intentions, or your eligibility. That's why it's not enough to just clean up your profiles now. You need to think long-term. You need to be cautious. You need to assume that anything you post online, even privately, could one day be seen by a government officer deciding your future. So, what can you do to protect yourself? How can you minimize the risk of your social media activity hurting your immigration case? Here's what I recommend. And these are not just tips. These are essential steps every immigrant, visa applicant, green card holder, and citizenship applicant should be taking right now. 1. Assume nothing is private. Even if your accounts are set to private, assume that USCIS or other government agencies can still access your content. Don't post anything, even jokingly, that could be misinterpreted or used against you. 2. Review your profiles carefully. Go through your social media accounts, all of them, and remove or archive anything that could be considered controversial, political, or inconsistent with your immigration application. This includes photos, posts, comments, likes, and shared articles. 3. Check your tagging and geotags. Make sure you're not tagged in posts that could raise red flags. Review location tags on photos and videos. Disable geotagging if necessary, and ask friends not to tag you in posts that could compromise your immigration case. 4. Google yourself. Search your full name, nicknames, and any variations. Look at what comes up, not just on social media, but on news sites, public records, and even old forums or blogs. If you find something concerning, take steps to address it. 5. Be consistent. Whatever you say in your immigration application, your travel history, your employment, your relationships, your address, make sure it matches what's visible online. If there's a discrepancy, be prepared to explain it. Better yet, avoid the discrepancy altogether. 6. Don't delete everything. While it's smart to clean up your profiles, avoid deleting content in a way that looks suspicious, especially if USCIS has already started reviewing your case. Abruptly deleting posts or accounts during an application process can raise questions about intent to hide information. 7. Monitor your accounts regularly. Immigration screening can happen at any stage, even months after you've submitted your application. Keep your profiles updated, your privacy settings reviewed, and your content appropriate. 8. Seek legal advice if you're unsure. If you have a complicated immigration case, or if you've posted something in the past that you're worried about, talk to an immigration attorney. They can help you assess the risk and guide you on how to proceed. Now, let's talk about one more critical tool you need to be using throughout your immigration journey, and that's the USCIS Case Status Online tool. Whether you've applied for a green card, a visa, or citizenship, you can track your case 24/7 by visiting uscis.gov cases status and entering your receipt number. This tool will show you whether your application is pending, approved, or requires additional action. If you receive a request for evidence, or RFE, or a notice of intent to deny, or NOID, it will be critical to respond quickly and accurately. Use the Case Status tool to stay on top of your case and never ignore a notice from USCIS. And remember, biometrics appointments, interviews, and document submissions are all part of the process, and missing any of them can lead to delays, denials, or even case closure. If you're asked to attend an interview, prepare thoroughly. Bring all requested documents, dress appropriately, and answer all questions honestly and consistently. If you're asked to submit additional evidence, do it on time. If you're unsure what to do, contact an immigration attorney or accredited representative immediately. Finally, I want to emphasize this. Staying informed is your greatest weapon in the immigration process. The rules are complex, the stakes are high, and the system is constantly changing. That's why it's so important to follow a trusted source like Immigration News Today, where we break down every major update, every policy shift, and every deadline you need to know, in clear, simple, and actionable language. So, if this video helped you, please take a moment to like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this, subscribe to Immigration News Today, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. And please, leave a comment below. Tell me what immigration questions you have, what topics you want us to cover next, because your voice matters. Your future matters, and together, we can cut through the confusion, expose the truth, and help you achieve the American dream. The right way, the smart way, and the safe way. Stay strong, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video. Yo.